Welcome back, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Lexi. If you are a book lover and you just love the autumn season and you want to embrace and celebrate this time of year, this is the video for you. It is officially fall. This is one of my favorite times of the year. I love that cold, crisp air that starts to creep in, usually around late October, even into November, where I live on the west coast of the USA. Yeah, it does not get very cold here quickly, but you know what? I'm not gonna let that stop me. I'm gonna drink the pumpkin spice. I'm gonna wear the orange shirts, decorate everything fall leaves and pumpkins and cozy autumn goodness. And another thing that you can do during this time to kind of get those fall feelings and vibes is to read books that feel like fall. And that is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I have sort of broad tastes. I love fantasy, I love cozy mystery, thrillers, sweet romance, Christian nonfiction, Christian fiction, sci-fi. I kind of just love it all. So if you are like me and you have similar reading taste, I think this list is going to be perfect for you. I have a bunch of books to share with you, so without further ado, let's get into the books with the fall vibes. First on this list, if you are a mystery lover, I think this is a great one for you. It is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. So this has quickly become one of my favorite books of the year. I love it so much. Set in the English countryside during a very cold, rainy season. There's fog rolling in. You totally get those fall vibes. It also feels a little bit Great Gatsby. It's kind of like 1940s. We follow a character who keeps waking up on the same day. It is a time loop, and every day at the same time, at the end of this huge, grandiose gala that's being held, there is a murder every night, and the same girl is murdered because this day just keeps playing itself over and over and over again, and our main character cannot escape until he solves the murder. So immediately this was a huge page turner, and it is a little bit dark in some elements. It also deals with body swapping, so the main character wakes up in the body of a different guest every night during this time loop. In a way, it's really a story about a detective not just interviewing suspects to try and figure out what happened, but actually goes into the heads of each suspect and sees things exactly through their eyes, their perspective. So fascinating read, and I read it so quickly. I've been recommending it to everybody I know who loves mystery. It is so good and definitely has that cold, foggy weather, autumn feeling to it. The next one on this list, also mystery. I don't know what it is about autumn and mysteries, but it's just like the perfect time to read them. Just cozy up and try to solve a crime. And this is a great book to do it. The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. This one is cozy to me. It has cozy vibes. Again, English countryside. I love it because we're following some retired individuals. They are part of this retirement community in the English countryside, and they are in a club called the Thursday Murder Club, where these four elderly people have to try and solve this murder that has taken place. They are just the quirkiest, funny little found family. Some of my favorite chapters in this are from Joyce's perspective. She is so funny and witty and just like jumps off the page. And the other supporting characters are also just as endearing and charming and witty. It's really cute. And because you're in the English countryside, it's cold and sort of gray on a lot of days. It just has those fall vibes. So it's perfect. Next up is a fantasy. This is actually a Christian fiction book written by Morgan Busse. It's called Secrets in the Mist. This has steampunk vibes if you love that. This is basically a world that's being taken over by this evil mist that's pretty much turning people into zombies. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's like a heavy zombie book necessarily. Like most zombie stuff I wouldn't be able to handle, but this I felt like was tame enough for me. Like, focus is more the characters who are trying to go down into the mist and solve what's going on. You follow a girl named Cass who gets a job on an airship called the Daedalus as a diver. She explores ruined cities looking for treasure and people's lost heirlooms until the young man hires her to find the impossible, a way to eradicate the mist. This book had a really nice feeling to it, and it's always really felt like a good fall read to me. So if you love fantasy and this sounds intriguing, definitely pick it up. Okay, this one actually starts on a cold November day. It is the Scorpio races, and by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. I just have to read you the first line because it's perfect. It's the first day of November, and so today someone will die. If you love horses, magical horses, if you love the ocean, this is like cold ocean, cliff's edge kind of stuff. And I feel like it's really fun to read books set in autumn that are at the ocean. Like, there's just like warm tropical beaches are really fun, but there's something really just I don't know, cozy about a cold beach, like wanting to wrap yourself up in a warm blanket and look out at a cold ocean landscape. I don't know, it's just vibes. So check that one out. Speaking of seaside, I have to mention House of Salt and Sorrow by Erin A. Craig. I just finished reading this one. It is a 12 Dancing Princesses retelling, also very high fantasy. There is a romance in here, but it takes a backseat to the bigger plot line, which is the murder mystery. So in this, you're following one of 12 sisters in this grandiose manor on the edge of the sea, on this island, and she's trying to solve the murder of her sisters because one by one, each of them are being killed off, and she can't figure out who's doing it, who's behind it. And rumors are going around the town that her family is just cursed, and she does not believe there is a curse and wants to solve the mystery before her own demise may occur. So there is some real motivation for this main character to get busy solving this thing. There is a really sweet romance. No spice, it's not too much. But it does have, be aware, this is on the darker side. There are some sort of like horror elements, there's some ghost elements, and some really dark things when like the mystery is unraveled and the killer is like, you figure out who the killer is. There's a lot in that killer's backstory that comes out about why they committed these horrific crimes, and it's scary. There's also just a lot of dark, scary elements where the character is coming up against this evil that is thwarting her life. It was a little much for me, I have to say. It was a little too close to that horror edge that I don't like to go towards, but at the same time, I could really appreciate like the magnificent world building. To me, it was like a very rich fantasy world. Loved the romance, and I did like how it ended. So I would still recommend this book. Just be forewarned, those trigger warnings. If you don't like a ghost or anything that's like too spooky, maybe stay away, but it was a very fun read. Definitely fall vibes. Speaking of autumn feelings, The Hobbit. It starts, I believe, in the summertime or the spring, and then you inch closer and closer to winter as Bilbo and company of Thorin Oakenshield try to find the Lonely Mountain to best a dragon who has stolen the dwarves' gold. This is such a sweet story of Bilbo's transformation, going from this kind of timid, shy, scared individual to a brave hobbit. But at the same time, even though he's brave and learns how to go out his door and say yes, he also makes sacrifices for his friends, which is just a really beautiful thing. It's really beautiful to see the friendships that take place in this book and the way that he has to trust Gandalf and trust the process and go on this adventure. He returns home to the Shire as a very changed hobbit, and it's just so beautiful. I listened to the audiobook with Andy Serkis, who does the narration, and it was just perfection. Okay, another one that you need to check out. If you love contemporary romance, but you also love fantasy, I would recommend Vampires, Hearts, and Other Dead Things by Margie Fuston. This is about a girl whose dad is passing away from cancer. They have a shared love of vampires, and in this world, it's basically our world, but vampires have sort of been discovered. People suspect that they're out there. One person has come forward saying that he is a vampire. The main character in our story makes a decision to find a real vampire so that she can save her dad from cancer. Fascinating premise. The idea that you could save a person that you love from cancer by getting them turned into a vampire, right? Who has this eternal, immortal life that they will always live. The problem is, when you are turned into a vampire in this world, it's not as rosy and wonderful as our main character thinks. You are no longer the person that you were before, and you may become something much darker than you anticipated. She has to really go on this journey facing cancer and the alternative. Kind of makes me think about like God's plan. Sometimes we try to take things into our own hands, and then we realize what we would be giving up by doing that, and is it worth it, right? It sort of asks that question. I love it. I thought it was so well written. It's a little bit spicy, but it's not even, there's no bedroom scenes, like there's just heavy, passionate kissing. Take that as you will. Honestly, so good. Definitely check it out. The main character goes to New Orleans in the book, eats powdered sugar beignets, and just all of the like architecture and the like, I don't even know if it takes place in autumn. It just has like the vibes. Like, check it out. This one is a very autumn and fall. It is Murder at the Pumpkin Pageant by Darci Hannah. Literally, I picked this up because of the cover. It just screamed autumn and fall. Like, what's not to love about this? This cute dog on the cover with this little pumpkin bucket in his mouth. There's little ghosties and a sunset going on. Like, oh, so good. Our main character basically has a bakery that she runs inside of this lighthouse that she lives in on the New England coast. Of course, someone ends up dead outside of her bakery, hanging from a tree. There's a lot of accusations being thrown around and suspicions, and so she has to go on an adventure to solve this murder mystery. It's definitely a foodie, cozy mystery. If you're not familiar, some cozy mysteries just have those food elements to them. So if you love pumpkin spice, this is going to deliver all the pumpkin cheesy spice. And yes, there are moments that are a little cheesy. If you like that kind of cheese, then you will like this. I wouldn't say it was like overly cheesy, but for some people it may be too much, so just take that with a grain of salt. But I loved it because I wanted something that was just pure pumpkin deliciousness, cozy, fall, maple syrup, cookies, like just cozy and delicious feelings. That's what I wanted. That's exactly what I got from this. Agatha Christie. If you're looking for a fall read, definitely try an Agatha Christie. This is The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, which is like one of the best, one of her absolute best murder mysteries. This is a Poirot mystery. You're following Hercule Poirot, who is this Belgian gentleman who is very smart and always cracks the case. It's got such a good twist. It's England, it's gonna be cold, it's just gonna be a page turner for you. Go wrong with an Agatha Christie in the fall. I think it's a really good idea because they are so twisty. You literally have no idea. The whole cast of characters is thrown at you, and a lot of them are funny and quirky and weird. There's humor, there's mystery around every turn, and you will not be able to guess who the killer is. Now, this is a book I haven't read for a few years now, but it is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. What I like about this book is that it is this really interesting fantasy where instead of just one London, we have multiple Londons that our main character can access with magic. Welcome to Grey London, dirty and boring without any magic and one mad king, George III. Then there is Red London, where life and magic are revered, and White London, a city slowly being drained through magical war down to its very bones. And once upon a time, there was Black London, but no one speaks of that now. Kell is the Red Traveler, one of the last magicians who can travel between the worlds, acting as ambassador and messenger between the Londons. Kell runs afoul of Delilah Bard, a cut purse with a lofty aspiration who first robs him, then saves him from a dangerous enemy, then forces Kell to spirit her to another world for a proper adventure. But perilous magic is afoot, and treachery lurks at every turn. To save all worlds, they'll first need to stay alive. There's great interplay between Kell and Delilah Bard. And English, British, there's themes going on here, but it's cold there. Like it's cold, it's not cold here. It's cold in England, okay? So I get the cold vibes. This book is steeped in so much magic and fun, and the world building is incredible. The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame. Now this book, oh my goodness, the descriptions of summer, turning into fall, the changing of the leaves, even the skies, the lighting. These characters are anthropomorphic little Edwardian animals, Ratty and Mole, who form a friendship, and you're kind of watching each of the characters mature in their own ways. They each have their own arc. You see Mr. Toad, who is greedy and selfish, and he has to go on his own journey with the help of his friends to sort of focus on what matters most and get rid of his addiction to fast cars and things that aren't good for him. This is just such a great book about the power of friendship, how we can challenge the people that we love to be better, including ourselves. It just has absolutely stunning seasonal descriptions in here. So if you just want to be reading a text, like feel immersed in the season of autumn or even winter. Winter is done so beautifully in here. All of the seasons are just eloquently described. This is the book for you. Absolutely love this children's classic. I will be rereading it and reading it to my little one at some point. So love, love, love this book. The next book on this list is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. You cannot get more autumn than an autumn fairy prince and his world called the Autumn Lands. This book just drips with that amber gold on the leaves, the crisp weather, this beautiful girl who is a painter who paints fairies that come into the village and accidentally paints mortal sorrow in this fairy prince's eyes in the picture, and then she has to be held accountable for her crime in the fairy courts in the Autumn Lands. And so a romance ensues. I would say this book is definitely a romantasy, so if you love romance and the fantasy genre, this is the perfect blending, and it's the perfect seasonal thing to pick up in the autumn. I'm also going to recommend 2 middle grade books because we love middle grade here, don't we? Middle grade is amazing. What is not to love about children's fiction? We can learn so many good lessons from them, and this is one of my favorite books. It is called The Box and the Dragonfly by Ted Sanders, and it is a part of the Keepers series. This is such an interesting series, all about children who discover they have these connections to these magical objects in society that allows them to sort of like use powers and abilities they didn't know that they had. So our main character, Horace, learns that he is connected to this world, that there is this opposing force that is not okay with human beings being able to do these things. So there are 2 secret societies at war. He finds himself caught up in the midst of them and goes on an adventure, making friends, maybe his first crush. There is danger and a lot of things that Horace gets himself into that he's not expecting. So some scary elements, but it's not too spooky. It's just suspenseful. There's a lot of heroism in this story. So it's really a good one to check out. But there's just kind of this whimsical nature to it that has this cozy feel that I think is exactly the feeling you want when it's cold outside and you want to just curl up with a good book. That's this book. Another middle grade one that I would recommend is The Bookwanderers by Anna James. It's really a story for bookish people. This little girl in the story, Tilly Pages, lives with her grandparents in their bookshop. Her mother disappeared. She loves books like Anne of Green Gables, Alice in Wonderland. Pretty soon she realizes that she is a book wanderer and that she can follow Anne or Alice into their books. And her new ability leads her to fun and exciting adventures. New secrets are uncovered, and it's up to Tilly to solve the mystery of what happened to her mom all those years ago. There is someone who is doing evil things in the background, in and through these books, that's like moving through the books, and she has to figure out what to do and how to solve her mom's disappearance. The first scenes, it's raining outside and she comes home from school and her grandma's making cookies, and there's just this warmth and coziness in the midst of a cold, rainy season. So it's a lovely story and celebrates a lot of nostalgic children's classics like Anne of Green Gables and Alice in Wonderland and things like that. There you have it. Those are my fall book recommendations recommendations. Thank you guys so much for being here, and let me know in the comments, what are you currently reading for fall? What is on your fall TBR? What book do you think just has the perfect autumn vibes? I would love to know. I am always looking for recommendations. And until next time, I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!